address is 150 Equinox Loop in Aiken, South Carolina. And I appreciate your time. I don't think I've ever been first on the agenda, but tonight you didn't have a choice but to put it first. So I appreciate that. And I agree with what Tommy said. I don't have anything different, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a different or some additional background. So this property, those two lots that you see in the third lot, were well, those two lots were part of the Sweetwater PUD. And under the PUD, the ordinance would require you, if you wanted to do something different, subdivide, to go through the planning commission to get either a major or minor subdivision approval. So at any rate, I think the PUD started, the plan development started in 2001. And by the time this conservation easement was recorded in 2011, the economy had changed pretty significantly, and the developer at that time decided that probably they could salvage the project a little bit by putting this land into a conservation easement to get some tax credits, I would imagine, is what they were doing at the time. So the other part of that, though, is there's, if you have a large tract of land and you want to go get it subdivided, there are processes that allow you to go get just a staff planning subdivision approval for a piece of land. So what happened in this case is the developer at that time, back in 2011, it wasn't our client, but it was the developer at the time, instead of following the ordinance, because this property was subject to the PUD, instead of following the ordinance, they just took a subdivision plat to the planning office to get approval. And so they got it approved, but it didn't come back through the subdivision. I mean, it should have been caught at the time. The person who signed off on the plat, the RMC, probably should have said that. It's probably before we could approve this plat, go through the planning commission to get approval, but it just wasn't caught or thought about. And so, and then on the plat, when it was approved and stamped, it indicated that these tracts will each be allowed to construct one home site. And that gave some indication about the cleared site will not be more than 2 acres. At the time the conservation easement was recorded, the conservation easement itself also permitted 1 home site per lot. And so basically the person who approved the plat pulled the same permitted, you can build 1 home site per lot, put it on the plat, and just indicated you got to stay out of wetlands and do some other. So at any rate, that then got recorded. So 10 years later, my clients purchased the property. And my firm does residential real estate as well. I don't myself, but I've dealt with plenty of residential closings. It's not customary for my client was first very upset with their closing attorney. My closing attorney obviously didn't tell me about this problem. I went to go submit my property to get approval. My plat, said that I could, but I can't because it's not a buildable lot. Well, it's not a buildable lot because it is subject to the PUD, and because the plat that was approved and stamped, by the city at that time hadn't come back to get approval under the PUD, right? So that was what the staff properly recognized as a problem. And so, but the difficulty was it wasn't really the fault of this closing attorney, because it's not typical that a closing attorney is going to go beyond the plat that says it's buildable, check through 7 or 10 different amendments to see, well, did they go get an amendment to get planning commission approval to permit this plat? They typically would just think, all right, well, the plat was stamped, it went through the normal channels to get approval. So that became the surprise of my clients that they paid for this property. They got, and they went through the process and they thought they're going to be able to build, and then they realized that it actually had not gone through planning commission approval way back then. Typically, you guys are facing issues where somebody's trying to create so much density, and they're putting too many houses, and there's not enough open space, and so you're typically fighting the opposite battle. In this case, the 2 tracts, or the 3 tracts, 47 acres, 35 acres, and 20 acres, that were part of the PUD, as you mentioned, they would have permitted several hundred houses. And so now, because they're part of a planning commission, they're part of a conservation easement, because they're part of, with this approval, because they only be permitted 1 lot per acre, you now have over 100 acres that are part of the plat that will assuredly be pretty much open space, with the exception of 1 lot on each tract. So for the overall development, I mean, it's already subject to the conservation easement, so it'll conserve the usage and vegetation of the land. Really, probably no harm to the city in the context of, in fact, if anything else, it probably assures that the density will be there. But in this case, it helps to repair what was an innocent party who purchased something with a plat that had been recorded and stamped, and they thought that it was a buildable lot, and turned out not to be. So, in the parcels actually that in miscommunication on our own, so the parcels that they purchased and that they own are actually the two that are shown there. The one on the top is a 47-acre parcel, I believe, and then the other one's I think a 34-acre parcel, and then just above that is the lot 2A that was referenced in the memo, and that is like a 20.83-acre parcel. And so that one is actually a part of the PUD and does require this approval. The one that's referenced as parcel number 10010120404 is actually not a part of the PUD, so it doesn't really have any jurisdiction here. Anyway, I think it's in the county, not in the city. So my apologies for not catching that earlier before today, but I think I did send this afternoon a proposed amendment to the resolution that would be approved, which hopefully corrects that parcel number. I think,
Madam Chairman, y'all have a corrected resolution there that city staff has reviewed this afternoon, and if you desire to use that one, we have no problems with it from the verbiage that's in there. It's the one, I think it's 13 pages. And it also further clarifies or helps identify the particular parcels better than what we had originally drafted and sent to you. And before I give it back to the attorney, this has been worked through with the city attorney. He was a party to the conversations and how to move forward with this, and was in agreement that this was the proper way to move it forward. To get it done. Sorry.
No, they're good. Yeah, that's correct. So that's probably more than you wanted to hear, but that's all I have. But if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right. Are there any questions?
That's right. Yeah.
We're talking about the 003, 002, and then the property to the northeast. That's not highlighted.
Yeah, and that one I think is 0101105. Okay. 004. I think it should be a 20.83 acre parcel. That's right, 20.83 acres.
I still have my arms quite wrapped around it. I don't know about you guys. Exactly in layman's terms, a mistake was made. It was caught by staff. Just out of curiosity, how did you catch it? Experience, other than sound, I'm experienced. Other than smart.
Actually, it was something that was on the radar. I came about a year ago. It was already on the radar of staff then, and it was just because the lady had inquired, Ms. Lyles had inquired about building a house there, and then it was in the open space area.
So we got 67 acres, and you can only have 3.
The lot sizes, so the 3 lots together are 47 acres.
Originally, you could have 0 on those 6. That will not have any dwelling units on that open space. that LP&E?
They don't object to the conservation. They want it because they like to keep it as it is. And so it's just a very isolated part of the tracks. So your approval of this will make it what we want. But we'll still have to come in and submit to staff, which was on the subdivision. And so then the plat itself, I think, will be shot over the years. So it's limited to. So it will still be.
Because the developer intended for it to be that way, for it to have one lot, and the staff who approved it, the staff member who approved it at the time, the stamped plat, was accepting of that. It's just that they didn't cause it to go through your agenda to get approval for that. So it's a total of 100 acres of parcels. I think it just so happens that 60 of those acres are in the open space part, which the open space restricts it. But so really it's 100 acres total, less carved out about 6 acres to 2 acres each.
That open space will not be deeded to the city, it's just open space available on that property, correct? It'll still be the owners.
Correct.
Knowing enough about conservation easements and dangerous, are the plans for possibly, what can you do with the easement? I mean, I know the big thing that's hard, it's, flood mitigation, or solar panels and things like that. I don't know if that's conservation required to do that or not, and I know some of the other stuff already would do that. And the easement, I think, is in perpetuity, and I think
Yes.
if you sign up, it's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plans for that, I mean.
They don't have any plans for they prefer it in its natural state, and there's ponds and other vegetation, so they really are kind of just of the land, so they don't really want to see what the conservation is restricted. They don't want to see, they're not looking to put solar panels or anything of that nature. It would eventually remain in its current vegetative state, just carved out 2 acre parcel, subject to the approval of staff once they decide where they want to do it.
And they have to bring that plan back to us to show where on the parcel that they have to choose to put their 2 acre house.
Correct. They'll have, and what we're talking there is the regular building permit process. It would come back to the planning commission. It'll just be a building plan submittal and then go through our building standards department.
Thank you very much.
All right, are there any questions or comments from the public? All right. There being none, then commissioners, any other discussion or questions?
This is different. I'll make a motion, in regards to application PDM 22-004, plan development of space, plan development on, minor modification. I'd like to make a motion for approval, there are no conditions.
That's
Second.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
who got the second?
You do Ms. Carter's hair first. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right. And with that, Ms. Harris, staff report, please.
Yes, ma'am. The, couple of things, well, three things, is last night we had the meeting, public meeting for the Georgia Avenue Traffic Calming Study Session. We had about 20 to 25 people attend, which, you know, what is a good attendance? Sometimes 2 people, sometimes 200. But we felt like that was pretty representative. We've also got the survey.
Fill out last night.
We
also had that survey online.
So please feel free to go to our website at northaugusta.sc.gov and fill that form out. So far we had almost, I believe it was 30 responses online. So that gives us probably about 50 responses so far, which means we've got a lot of people out there that hadn't given us the input yet. So please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, please. Along that same pathway, the Augusta Regional Transportation Study Area, which is the ARTS, which is the MPO for the region. And I'm talking about regional transportation now for the CSRA, is also doing a bike ped plan for the area. And there is a survey available on the ARTS website as well. Right now, I think North Augusta is about number 4 in the list of responses. I'd like to make that number 1, but of course with Columbia County and Augusta, Richmond County, that might be too big a bite to swallow. But just know that those two are out there. Yes, sir.
Where do you get to that survey?
It's at the ARTS. It's would be the Augusta, Richmond County website. And what you want to look for is Augusta Regional Transportation Study. And they have their own web page there. The development code rewrite, Dr. Crawford and Rhett, it's been a challenging 3-hour period talking about landscaping and a couple of other things, but primarily on landscaping the other week. Our next meeting is November 30th at 3 p.m. And hopefully we can get through the rest of it and get it back to the consultant and get things buttoned up and have it to the Planning Commission, I hope, around the beginning of the year. And speaking of that, November 29th, remember that. Y'all are probably tired of hearing me say it, but I just don't want it to slip anybody's mind. It will be at 6 p.m. from 6 to 8, and we're going to meet in the conference room immediately behind you here in the council chamber, or the council's conference room. The one other thing that Dr. Crawford told me to remind her about, that I'm going to maybe step ahead of her, but remember our next meeting is December the 21st, which is always a tough time right there before Christmas. So I will ask you, if you cannot be here, if you will let us know, because it's important for us to have a quorum. And the sooner we know that we're not going to have a quorum, the sooner we can let the applicants know, so they're not planning on something that's not going to happen, and they can spend time with their families as well. So I just ask for y'all's help there. And that's it for me, Dr. Crawford.
All right, thank you. So thank you all in advance for the time on the 29th. Just a footnote for those of us, myself included, who have not done other CEUs, we will still have 1 hour outstanding that we'll have to do online. So hopefully we'll find something online to get it done in that next month. So see you on the 29th. And again, as soon as possible, please check with your families, everyone. I myself almost did not check appropriately on the 21st. And so, Big Commissioner King, I will be absent for that meeting. So,
What?
yes. So,
Can I add something to your remarks?
Mhm.
Can you all marinate on, we used to meet on Thursdays, and then we had a couple of commissions that had some conflicts, and we moved it to Wednesdays. Can you all just think about moving back to Thursday? Just think about it.
okay. So you prefer to go back to Thursday, I take it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I mean, in my essence, a meeting on Wednesday night is just, ugh. I did it because I wanted to be a team player.
Okay.
I mean, but I'm,
That would put it on third Thursday. That would affect me.
okay. We don't want to do that. Mine is just a preference. I don't know about that. Just think about it. We'll
That
come
was
to
the
an agreement.
initial reason, I think, was the fact that it was conflicting with Third Thursday and be able to interact in that event downtown as well, participate and support it. So I'm not a big fan of Wednesday either. But
It's like I said, let's just think about it. I mean, I'm not married to it. Having it changed, let's collectively look at it.
Tommy, do you already have agenda items on for December? I mean, do you know several? I mean,
I don't know, to be honest with you.
okay, just checking. I mean, I should be here.
Were you going to Hawaii?
My brother we have a family vacation right before. But just, yeah, if everybody, because it really, the Christmas falls on, I think, a Sunday this year, so it's the Wednesday before, so it's a little different this year as well. All right, if there is nothing else, thank you all. We'll see you all next week, and again, thank you in advance for your time and all that you all do, and thank you to staff for all that you all do and continue to move the city of North Augusta forward. All right, thank you, and I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.